The time is at hand.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
One of the many spirits said to haunt the area.
Unknown animal attack.
We need a great reset.
Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen.
From 659 feet high up in the Appalachian Mountains, this is In Dark Places. I'm on a never-ending quest of getting caught up on the YouTube uploads. I'm slowly getting caught up. The last one I uploaded was episode 89, Synchronicities. As I was looking for a topic for this week's episode, one of the stories that popped up was about synchronicities. I don't know. These things are not supposed to happen. One day last week I was at work and I had my back turned and a thought popped in my head. There's Eddie. I turned around and my friend Eddie was walking up toward me. And as I was talking to Eddie, the same thing happened again. I was thinking, here comes Mike. And I looked to my right, and my friend Mike was coming toward us. Should we talk about synchronicities again on the show? What do you guys want to hear? Come on, there's got to be a topic you want us to talk about. Don't be shy. Anyway, back to the YouTube thing. Have you noticed that they took away the thumbs down button there about a year ago? All these woke people who give out participation trophies and stuff like that decided that there shouldn't be a thumbs down, and it's still in the user settings though. Like when I click on our dashboard, it shows me how many thumbs up and how many thumbs down we have. I see that someone gave episode 83, Fat and Fritter Cryptids, a thumbs down. What's that all about? Was that offensive to you or something that we used the word fat? Let's talk about this. Send us an email if you're the person that gave that episode a thumbs down. Yeah, not really though. Stuff like that would have bothered me 4 or 5 years ago, but I've learned that God placed some people on this world just to annoy the rest of us. They're just trolls, it's okay. It happens at work too. On March 18th, this old lady started yelling at me because she wanted me to change the price of a pork loin that she had a rain check for. And I thought she said that she wanted it sliced, so I sliced it for her. And she flipped out. Most of the time I try to be professional and just let them yell at me and just laugh about it, but this woman really struck a nerve for some reason. I guess that goes with the territory. Overworked, underpaid. My favorites are the ones that talk to me like I'm stupid. They tell me they want 7 pieces of catfish or something. So I start picking some catfish out for them, and they have to chime in and say, okay, 1 more. Yes, sir, I know. They teach us how to count here and everything. Yeah. And now, here's the Nicolas Cage Meltdown of the Week.
Sazerac.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, go get him, James.
Ow!
No, it's not. Ow! It's
We don't really have a topic this week, and usually whenever we don't have a topic, we name the episode some just random name. Jimmy came up with that idea. It's a great idea. So, this week is parachutes. And I was thinking about an incident I had concerning a parachute when I was in the 6th grade. I was 12 years old, I guess, about that age. This was like 1988, somewhere in that neighborhood. So our school was having a spelling bee, and I was the top dog in the class. In the 6th grade, I was the best speller. And we had this big, giant, massive spelling bee contest that lasted pretty much all day in the cafeteria of all places. And yeah, I ended up being the spelling champion there for the 6th grade. So then we were going to determine the spelling bee champion for the school. So all of the classes gathered their number one contenders, and we had a little face-off. It went back and forth forever between me and this one kid named Jeremy. Jeremy spoke in class today. And coincidentally, Jeremy is the kid that told his brother that they weren't allowed to hang out with me because I was kind of weird and seeing ghosts and things. Remember that story? So this was Jeremy. He was the older brother of that one guy. And it came down neck and neck between me and Jeremy. And like 45 minutes into it, neither one of us was just not giving in. We kept spelling one word after another. And we were doing great against each other forever. And I started thinking, like, the winner of the school is going to have to go to Charleston, West Virginia for the state championship. And being the shy kid that I was, I didn't want that kind of attention. I didn't want to go to Charleston. And at the time, we didn't even know how to get to Charleston. My mom and dad never took us anywhere. So I didn't want to have to rely on some relative to take us to Charleston or anything like that. And I kept thinking about it, and we were going back and forth between me and Jeremy. And the whole time, I didn't want to be a part of the state championship. So the word parachute came up. And I threw the spelling bee contest. I pretended to not know how to spell parachute, just because I didn't want to go to the state championship. So I said, P-A-R-A-S-H-O-O-T, parachute. And it was wrong. Can you believe it? So then Jeremy ended up going to the state championship, and he was the winner of the school and everything, and he was just all happy because he defeated me, and I threw it. He didn't really beat me. I could beat you any day, Jeremy.
This is Mr. Haunted with In Dark Places breaking news. Boston man tried to throw imposter wife into Fort Point Channel, prosecutors say. A Boston man accused of attempting to throw his wife into the Fort Point Channel told police he believed she was an imposter. According to a report, Jonathan Pinney, 38, has been charged with assault and battery on a family or household member and assault and battery on a disabled person after the incident last Wednesday. A judge has also ordered him to undergo a psychological evaluation. Officers received a report of an assault in progress, with a witness telling cops he saw Pinney lifting his alleged victim from her wheelchair and attempting to throw her over the railing. When police found and arrested Pinney, he told officers about his imposter belief and said he was trying to dump her into the channel. Considering the air and water temperature Wednesday, along with the victim's disability, we would likely be looking at a far more tragic scenario had this man been successful in his stated intent, Suffolk District Attorney Kevin Hayden said in a statement. Holy mackerels! Breaking news! Back to you, Junebug.
Steven Spielberg has his own theory about those UFOs. What if it's us, 500 years in the future? By Christian Zilko. Thanks, Christian. In recent weeks, American skies have been filled with various balloons and other unidentified flying objects that the U.S. military has been forced to shoot down. They've forced them to do it. The lack of information provided has led many curious Americans to draw their own conclusions about the mysterious objects, including Steven Spielberg. In a career-spanning interview on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, the E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind director was asked about the recent surge of UFO sightings. While the Oscar frontrunner isn't ready to fully endorse the theory that we're being visited by aliens, the saga has certainly piqued his interest. I've never seen a UFO, says Spielberg. I wish I had. I've never seen anything that I can't explain, but I believe certain people who have seen things that they can't explain. I think what has been coming up recently is fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And I think the secrecy that is shrouding all these sightings and the lack of transparency. I think there is something going on that needs extraordinary due diligence. He continues, I don't believe we're alone in the universe. I think it's mathematically impossible that we are the only intelligent species in the cosmos. I think that's totally impossible. At the same time, it also seems impossible that someone would visit us from 4 million light years from here, except in the movies, of course, unless it figures out some way of jumping the shark, so to speak, and getting here through wormholes. But Spielberg isn't convinced that anyone in the universe has figured out faster-than-light travel. He's more open to the idea that humans may have figured out time travel. He presented Colbert with his own theory that the UFOs we're seeing are actually humans visiting us from the future. The most optimistic thing I feel about these things we see in the skies that the Army and Navy and Air Force are recording on their gun cameras is that what if they're not from an advanced civilization 3 million light years from here? He said. What if it's us 500 years in the future that is coming back to document the second half of the 20th century and into the 21st century because they're anthropologists and they know something we don't quite know yet that has occurred, and they're trying to track the last 100 years of our history. When Colbert joked that Spielberg's theory means that humanity would have survived 500,000 years, the famously optimistic Spielberg replied with a joke of his own. Yes, we survive, or at least a certain percentage of us survives that allows future generations to flourish. That's a great joke. Way to go, Stephen. I guess that's all the story. So yeah, I think that makes sense, yeah. I always kind of wondered that. What if it's just us time traveling? And that's what happened in Roswell. It's kind of like a little time travel paradox. Like, there was a UFO crash in Roswell in 1947, so these guys in the future decided they were going to go back to 1947 to see what it was that crashed, when in reality it was them that crashed, and they died in some kind of a horrible crash, and they're like from the future, but history remembers them as being some kind of a alien spacecraft or something, but it was actually those dudes from the future. You know, that's what I think. Here is a demon possession / Ouija board story. When I was in my 20s, I worked with a middle-aged lady who told me about the time her house became haunted. Her daughters had a sleepover, and one of their friends brought a Ouija board. She said after that night, her little dogs wouldn't come out from under the furniture. Doors would lock and unlock themselves, cabinets opening and shutting, stuff vanishing and reappearing in different parts of the house, etc. She had her non-denominational pastor come and pray over the house. Nothing changed. She called the priest from the local Catholic church. He came and told her there was demonic possession going on in her house. He called in the priests that were trained exorcists. 2 came, exorcised her house, and she never had anything like that happen in her home again. Completely changed my mind on how active demons are in our everyday lives. I stopped watching shows like Supernatural and became a lot more guarded about the types of media I consumed. Good plan. This is a story sent in by our friend James. Thanks, James. Government officials say an alien mothership is close to Earth. By Igra Butt. It's no secret that unexplained UFO sightings have been more frequent lately, many even claiming life outside of Earth exists. More recently, a Harvard astronomer and Pentagon officials have spotted eye-catching activity and are now suggesting that an alien mothership could potentially be releasing small probes onto Earth while it travels on a close path. Experts are open to the possibility that these alien motherships are monitoring our planet and there are civilizations aside from Earth. The All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, also known as the AARO, was created in 2022 by the National Defense Authorization Act in conjunction with the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, DNI, and the United States Department of Defense, DoD, to help synchronize efforts of all DoD agencies in identifying national security threats. Specifically, this organization helps with unidentified anomalous phenomenon, also known as UFOs, which could be anything that cannot be reasonably identified and could pose a threat to the United States regardless of being in space, air, land, or sea. In a 2022 report released by the DNI, there has been an uptick in UFO reporting within the past years. Yeah, because it fits the narrative. Okay. On March 7th, draft report released by the Director of the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, Sean Kirkpatrick, and Chairman of Harvard University's Astronomy Department, Abraham Loeb, described the recent alien mothership findings as an unidentified aerial phenomenon. They predict that the friction of the UFO along with the surrounding air or water will generate a bright optical fireball. In more scientific terms, the friction will create an ionization shell and tail, implying that it possesses radio signatures. The same report suggests that this UFO could be an alien mothership passing near the Earth's orbit that has sent probes for exploration dubbed dandelion seeds. This alien mothership's possible tactics of sending probes are not too dissimilar from NASA missions, notes the authors. This could raise some concerns about the intelligence levels of these UFOs. According to MSN, Loeb told DailyMail.com that his team at Harvard is currently using a large campus telescope to scan the skies for such probes or other UFOs. They are planning to set up a second telescope in the coming months as part of his Galileo project. These telescopes could provide more data and insights into the alien mothership. Loeb went on to say that they are just hypothetically raising possibilities concerning how NASA is designing things that will land on Mars. He explained how Earth is not unique and there are billions of planets in our Milky Way galaxy, so the alien mothership is not unusual to them. Loeb clarifies that he has not seen data that supports any of the hypotheses, and it's merely a possibility. While many of these sightings, reportings, and UFOs are well documented by government agencies, currently they are just possibilities about extraterrestrial life and alien motherships. One thing is for sure, however, the government has devoted its efforts and time into identifying these phenomena and assessing if the UFOs are threats to national security and safety. Since they take it seriously, maybe it does lend credence to the fact that there may indeed be other civilizations aside from Earth.
This episode of In Dark Places is sponsored by Wrangler. Wrangler Western Apparel is enduring American freedom. It's in the spirit of people who work hard, have fun, and recognize courageous individuality. As a company, we believe in solid commitments and perseverance in the face of obstacles and challenges. Most of all, we respect ourselves, each other, our Western heritage, and the environment in which we live. It's the same as ever, even before the first pair of Wrangler jeans were made in 1947. Our history runs parallel to the rise of the country. Our jeans worn by the same people who built it. That's Wrangler.
Here comes Wrangler, he's one tough customer. He likes life lean and fit that's clean, yeah. When he says jeans, he means Wrangler.
Wrangler's honest styles were born in the West to look their best anywhere, top to bottom.
Here comes Wrangler, and he's one tough customer, and he knows what he likes when he
How about that synchronicity story? Coincidence, whatever you want to call it. In 1891, an unknown Englishman named Charles Wells became an overnight sensation as the man that broke the bank at Monte Carlo, as a music hall song later called him. Using no apparent system, he 3 times broke the 100,000 franc bank allocated to his roulette table at the famous Monte Carlo casino. Can coincidence explain how Wells was somehow able to sense the winning numbers? We will never know. After winning for the 3rd time, Wells disappeared, taking his secret with him, and he was never seen again. Maybe he's a time traveler. How about this one? It was only when his train steamed into Louisville Station that George D. Bryson decided to break his trip to New York and visit the historic Kentucky town. He had never been there before, and he had to ask where to find the best hotel. Nobody knew that he was in Louisville, and as a joke, he asked the desk clerk at the Brown Hotel, "Any mail for me?" He was astonished when the clerk handed over a letter addressed to him and bearing his room number. The previous occupant of room 307 had been another and entirely different George D. Bryson. And then there's this one. While on a tour of Texas in 1899, the Canadian actor Charles Francis Coughlin was taken ill in Galveston and died. It was too far to return his remains to his home on Prince Edward Island in the Gulf of St. Lawrence, more than 3,500 miles away by the sea route, and he was buried in a lead coffin inside a granite vault. His bones had rested there for less than a year when a great hurricane in September 1900 hit Galveston Island, flooding the cemetery. The vault was shattered and Coughlin's coffin floated out into the Gulf of Mexico. Slowly it drifted along the Florida coastline and into the Atlantic, where the Gulf Stream picked it up and carried it northwards. 8 years passed, and then one day in October of 1908, some fishermen on Prince Edward Island spotted a long, weather-scarred box floating near the shore. Coughlin's body had come home. With respect mingled with all, his fellow islanders buried the actor in the nearby church, where he had been christened as a baby. Chance, destiny, a mere trick of randomness, or that strange and powerful force striving to make sense of the universe that some call coincidence. This is a story sent in by our friend Paul. And Paul recently had to have part of his lung removed from cancer, and he just went to the doctor a couple days ago and got a clean bill of health. He's now cancer-free. So that's awesome, Paul. We're so glad to hear that. New Loch Ness Monster spotted by swimmers with police now searching lake. By Christopher Sharp. Thanks, Chris. Police in Mexico are searching for a Loch Ness-style monster they say could be living in a reservoir near a dam in the city of Atizapán de Zaragoza. The creature was reportedly seen by locals swimming in the lake. According to reports, the civic leaders and police have been inundated with sightings. One photo, which is believed to show the monster, has gone viral after being posted on the local town hall website. And we'll have links in the description and on the YouTube video and stuff. Loch Ness Monster Hunter claims Nessie may be 2 individual beasties. The photograph appears to reveal what appears to be a dark body, which could have a fin or a curved back, coming from the waters of Madam Dam Basin. Local town hall officials have now ordered police to patrol the lake and find out the cause of the sightings. Residents believe the beast could be a left-behind dinosaur that has developed in isolation. Local media quoted Atizapán Town Hall who said in a statement, "This fact adds to comments from residents of Atazapan who assure that a dinosaur lives at the bottom of the dam, which protects the place. At the request of the citizens, the government of Atazapan de Saragossa will carry out patrols around the place to clear up the mystery." While the mystery has gripped the town, not everyone believes there is a creature in the deep. Some believe it could be a huge crocodile or a large blob of feces from sewage water. Nevertheless, local authorities are taking the matter seriously and aim to get to the bottom of the sightings. You know, it's a pun because it's at the bottom of the reservoir. The creature, which is often described as having a long neck with one or more humps on its back, has been rumored to live in the waters for many years. While some may think this creature's existence is a myth, locals have taken it seriously. It is reported that the Museum of Natural History receives requests for information on the monster, and an attempt in 1987 to locate it was made, with divers searching the waters to no avail. There still remains no concrete proof that it actually exists. Alien life may exist in the zone between night and day, study says. Thanks, study. This is by Darren Orff. Kind of sounds like a made-up name. How does life thrive on other planets? Although thinking through the particulars of distant alien civilizations has long been the purview of scientists in search of these extraterrestrial life forms, only have a sample size of one, planet Earth. But traveling in a solar system's Goldilocks zone with a gentle 1,000 mile per hour spin that thoroughly spit roasts the planet to life-generating temperatures isn't necessarily a universal constant. In fact, Earth's particular orientation in its solar system could be an outlier among the universe. So, scientists at the University of California, Irvine are taking a closer look at an alternative option, eyeball exoplanets. Typically, these planets, nicknamed as such because their appearance resembles a human eyeball, orbit red dwarf stars and are tidally locked, meaning one hemisphere of the planet experiences scorching temperatures and perpetual daylight, while the other is freezing cold and shrouded in never-ending darkness. At first glance, these planets seem too hostile for life, if not for a thin band between these two extremes known as the termination zones. UCI postdoc student Anna Lobo and her colleagues tweaked models usually used to understand Earth's climate to instead mimic conditions of an eyeball exoplanet, and found that with certain conditions in place, a termination zone could theoretically support life. This isn't the first study to theorize the possibility of life on eyeball planets, but it does successfully establish that such worlds could be climatically stable. The results were published in the Astrophysical Journal. This is a planet where the day side can be scorching hot, well beyond habitability, and the night side is going to be freezing, potentially covered in ice, said Lobo in a press statement. You want a planet that's in a sweet spot of just the right temperature of having liquid water. Although water is essential for life to flourish. Okay, just stop. What if it's not? Okay, this is just a little commentary. What if aliens don't need water? These guys are always looking for planets with water and looking for water on the moon and stuff. What if aliens don't need water? You ever think about that? Okay. Sorry. They look for this water to look for tidally locked planets to be habitable, and they specifically can't have too much water, according to Lobo. If Earth, for example, was tidally locked and orbiting a red dwarf star, the oceans continually facing the sun would eventually evaporate and create a thick layer of water vapor that make life difficult, if not impossible, to take hold. But if there's more land than water, then this runaway water vapor effect wouldn't occur, and melting glaciers from the dark side of the planet could provide sufficient water to support life by filling the termination zone with rivers and lakes. Understanding the possible habitability of these planets is crucial, as red dwarfs are the most abundant stars in the universe, and many of these types of worlds are believed to be orbiting them. We are trying to draw attention to more water-limited planets, which, despite not having widespread oceans, could have lakes or other smaller bodies of water, and these climates could actually be very promising, said Lobo. Growing evidence of these worlds as habitable could influence the gaze of the James Webb Telescope, or even its successor, the Large Ultraviolet Optical Infrared Surveyor, as humanity continues its long search to find life among the stars, wherever it might be hiding. And that's about all of the show this week. Thanks as always, Mr. Jimmy Haunted. If you've got a true scary story to tell and you'd like to be a guest on the show, send an email to indarkplacespod@hotmail.com. We'll see you again next week. God bless you.